Hello, everybody. Y'all gotta call me out when my pronunciations are atrocious. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, Part 1, Chapter 31. Vronsky had not even attempted to sleep all that night. He sat in his armchair with his eyes wide open, looking with perfect indifference at those who came in and went out. For him, men were of no more account than things. People who were ordinarily struck by his imperturbable dignity would have found him now tenfold more haughty and unapproachable. A nervous young man, an employee of the district court sitting near him in the car, detested him on account of this aspect. The young man did his best to make him appreciate that he was an animated object. He asked for a light, he spoke to him, he even touched him, but Vronsky looked at him as though he had been the reflector. And the young man, with a grimace, thought that he should lose command of himself to be so ignored by Vronsky. Vronsky saw nothing, heard nothing. He felt as though he were a Tsar, not because he saw that he had made an impression upon Anna. He did not fully realize that as yet, but because of the power of the impression which she had made on him, and which filled him with happiness and pride. What would be the result of this he did not know, and did not even consider, but he felt that all his powers, which had been dissipated and scattered hitherto, were now tending with frightful rapidity towards one beatific focus. As he left his compartment at Bologoi, to get a glass of seltzer, he saw Anna, and almost from the first word had told her what he thought. And he was glad that he had spoken as he did, glad that she knew all now, and was thinking about it. Returning to his car, he recalled one by one all his memories of her, the words that she had spoken, and his imagination painted the possibility of a future which overwhelmed his heart. On reaching Petersburg, he dismounted from the car, and, in spite of a sleepless night, felt as fresh and vigorous as though he had just enjoyed a cold bath. He stood near his car, waiting to see her pass. "I'll see her once more," he said to himself with a smile. "I will see her graceful bearing. Perhaps she will speak a word to me, will look at me, smile upon me." But it was her husband whom first he saw, politely escorted through the crowd by the station-master. Ach, da, the husband. And then Vronsky, for the first time, got a realizing sense that he was an important factor in Anna's life. He knew that she had a husband, but had never realized the fact until now. When he saw his head, his shoulders, and his legs clothed in black pantaloons, and especially when he saw him unconcernedly go up to Anna and take her hand as though he had the right of possession. The sight of Alexey Alexandrovitch, with his Petersburgish fresh face, and his solid, self-confident figure, his round cap, and his slightly stooping shoulders, confirmed the fact, and filled him with the same sensation that a man dying of thirst experiences, who discovers a fountain, but finds that a dog, a sheep, or a pig has been roiling the water. Alexey Alexandrovitch's stiff and heavy gait was exceedingly distasteful to Vronsky. He did not acknowledge that anyone beside himself had the right to love Anna. When she appeared, the sight of her filled him with physical exultation. She had not changed, and his soul was touched and moved. He ordered his German body-servant, who came hurrying up to him from the second-class car, to see to the baggage, and while he was on his way towards her, he witnessed the meeting between a husband and wife, and, with a lover's intuition, perceived the shade of constraint with which Anna greeted her husband. No, she does not love him, and she cannot love him, was his mental judgment. As he joined them, he noticed with joy that she felt his approach, and was glad, and that she recognized him, though she went on talking with her husband. "Did you have a good night?" said he, when he was near enough, and bowing to her, but in such a manner as to include the husband, and allow Alexey Alexandrovitch the opportunity to acknowledge the salute, and recognize him, if it seemed good to him so to do. "Thank you, very good," she replied. Her face expressed weariness, and her eyes and smile lacked their habitual animation. But the moment she saw Vronsky, something flashed into her eyes, and notwithstanding the fact that the fire instantly died away, he was overjoyed even at this. She raised her eyes to her husband to see whether he knew Vronsky. Alexey Alexandrovitch looked at him with displeasure, vaguely remembering who he was. Vronsky's calm self-assurance struck upon Alexey Alexandrovitch's cool superciliousness as a feather on a rock. "Count Vronsky," said Anna. "Ah, we have met before, it seems to me," said Alexey Alexandrovitch with indifference, extending his hand. "Went with the mother and came home with the son," said he, speaking with precision, as though his words were worth a rouble apiece. "Back from a furlough, probably?" And without waiting for an answer, he turned to his wife in his ironical tone. "Did they shed many tears in Moscow to have you leave them?" His manner towards his wife told Vronsky that he wanted to be left alone, and the impression was confirmed when he touched his hat and turned from him. But Vronsky still remained with Anna. "I hope to have the honor of calling upon you," said he. Alexey Alexandrovitch, with weary eyes, looked upon Vronsky. "Very happy," he said coldly. "We received on Mondays." Then, leaving Vronsky entirely, he said to his wife, still in a jesting tone, "And how fortunate that I happened to have a spare half-hour to come meet you and show you my tenderness." "You emphasize your affection too much for me to appreciate it," replied Anna in the same spirit of raillery, although she was listening involuntarily to Vronsky's steps behind them. "But what is that to me?" she asked herself in thought. Then she began to ask her husband how Serozha had got along during her absence. "Oh, excellently. Mariette says that he has been very good, and I'm sorry to have to tell you, but he did not seem to miss you, not so much as your husband. But again, merci, my dear, that you came a day earlier. Our dear Samovar will be delighted." He called the celebrated Countess Lydia Ivanovna by the nickname of the Samovar, because she was always and everywhere bubbling and boiling. "She has been kept asking after you, and do you know, if I make bold to advise you, you would do well to go to see her today. You see, her heart is always sore on your account. At present, besides her usual cares, she is greatly concerned about the reconciliation of the Oblonskys." The Countess Lydia Ivanovna was a friend of Anna's husband, and the center of a certain circle in Petersburg society to which Anna, on her husband's account, more than for any other reason, belonged. "Da, but didn't I write her? She expects to have all the details. Go to her, my dear, if you are not too tired. No, Kondrato will call your carriage, and I am going to a committee meeting. I shall not have to dine alone this time," continued Alexey Alexandrovitch, not in jest this time. "You cannot imagine how used I am to—" And with a peculiar smile, giving her a long pressure of the hand, he led her to the carriage.